Well, the new season is right upon us. All those sleeps have now gone and we can get out there, and all those plans we made, time to get out there and put them into action. And one of the hardest things we often find is making time. So make sure you get that calendar and you block out those days. You're going to go this week and the other week. I've got all sorts of places I want to go to this year because I have the feeling that the backcountry fishing particularly can be really good. I went fishing last weekend and I must admit I did see some evidence of had a lot of fun. Went up to Lake Sunderland, did a bit of lake soft bait fishing. I love soft baiting in lakes. The key thing is you don't have to cast too far, but here's the real secret to doing well. Don't overwork everything. Cast out your gear, let it drop, and then just quietly retrieve it. You'll find they'll come along and pick it up. Spinning is so much harder because you have to cast out and wind in, cast out and wind in. It's much easier if you're soft baiting, particularly over weed bed edges or where there's a drop off, you do really well. And I can assure you, I had a ball. Can't wait to get out again. It's got me all inspired. Now, when it comes to the opening of the season, of course, I just want to tell you a little bit about the way rivers work because it'll help you in your understanding of where to go and how to make it go for you. I want you to get results. Now, of course, in the wintertime, the trout go up to spawn. And all the tributaries are filled with these trout, which are obviously be protected by having a closed season. And those fish tend to hold there because we've got a lot of snow melt, we've got the rain, and rivers are in pretty good nick, and they've been pretty high all through the winter time. So those fish are quietly going to get squeezed back as the rivers drop. But the great thing about them is they're a bit thin and hungry. There's nothing like you putting a nymph in front of a hungry fish to get really good results. At the bottom end of the river, you've got the whitebait coming in and the sea runners are coming in chasing those. So you have the fish coming down from the top, you have the fish coming up from the bottom. So the first couple of months are fantastic. Once you get to about December, a little bit more pressure coming on. When it comes to January, high temperatures, much lower rivers, far more people have been out there, the fish are harder to catch. So make sure you get out early. You'll get your best results if you get out in these next few weeks. And I know you've got to sometimes dodge the weather because that can be a wee bit on the awkward side with the spring winds and so forth coming in, and you don't know whether it's summer or winter. But if you've got the ability to be able to fish fly rod particularly, phenomenal fishing to be had because you can spot your fish, cast to them. There's nothing more engaging than seeing a fish and then having to work out how far up do I have to go and how deep does it have to be and how hungry does it look, and you pop out some flies and watch it come over and grab it. That is great fun.
Perfect. There we go.
And if you can't do that, soft baiting is extremely efficient in those sorts of situations because of course you've got quite a large bait which looks like a fish, and they're more than happy to go and grab it because they're trying to put on condition. So again, don't overfish pools. The key thing for me is I would rather walk a lot of distance and catch a new fish in a new area. You only get 2 or 3 casts really at a particular fish and then you might as well just forget it. But I see a lot of people wasting time when they're fishing because they keep overfishing to the same fish. Remember, you almost always run out of time before you run out of waterway. So if you can go to the next pool, you're going to find another one, which might be a dumb fish. Remember, the favorite fish out there is the dumb fish. The one that hasn't seen anybody, hasn't seen anything.
I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
And is far more likely to take. So keep moving on and you'll get much better results. Like I say, get yourself out there. There's nothing like October and November to be fantastic months for getting into our backcountry. And of course, it tends to be the time before most of the visitors come from overseas. So if you're watching this from overseas, you know the secret of what we do when we're locals. Now, when it comes to other places that are fishing well, the canals have definitely lifted in their quality of performance, and that's because the lakes that feed those canals are much clearer and lower, and sometimes they're not running quite as much, but when they do run, when we get that water movement, gee, there's been a lot of fish caught out of there. And I know that our Facebook pages has some pretty good specimens on there, and I've talked to a few of my locals who go down on a regular basis, and they are really doing well compared to what it had been earlier in the season. Other things which are going well, of course, are whitebait. Whitebait's been a bit slow. I don't know whether it's the temperatures or the weather or whatever it has been. It has been a much slower season in the start, though in the last few days I've heard better and better results, and of course nothing like getting out there for a decent feed of whitebait. They are also very, very good trout food, and of course the car whale come on the bottom as well. When it comes to surf casting, that's been going well too. Again, some of my friends have been out there catching rig off the shore, and whether you're above or below the peninsula and Canterbury, or even further south or north than that, I know that there's been some very good surf casting that's been happening. One of the things that I like about surf casting, and it's brought me to it, has been the change in the method of what we use. And so I'm into using braid. Remember, 50-pound whiplash braid is the same diameter as 5-pound mono. Now, what does that mean when it comes to you being a surf caster? Well, here's the most important thing. Being so thin, you can cast it a long way further. And so when the wind blows, you don't get the big curl, and if the waves are rolling in, you don't get it dragging all your gear to be wound out again. So you can leave your gear out there for much longer, let alone the fact that, of course, it's got no stretch. And if you're in a really rocky or a pebbly beach where you're getting a lot of line abrasion, you can beat as hard as you like on 50-pound braid, and it won't bruise and break like it does with mono. So it gives us a huge advantage in what we're doing, let alone the new technologies that are coming into both reels and rods, so you can cast further and do it easier. But of course, get yourself some decent rig, or a wee bit later on we're going to get into the elephant fish, and you're going to have some fantastic eating as well. And of course, it's a reasonably sustainable resource as long as you don't overtake everything, and that's going to be great. Come on and see us. We'd love to give you a bit of advice. We'd like to inspire you to get out there. We might even give you a spot or two, but not necessarily the very best ones. And we're, of course, at 484 Cranford Street, or you can look online either at our Facebook page or on our website, completeangler.co.nz. See you then.